Welcome to JGod Gaming. In today's video I want to focus on how to get better at Call of Duty WWII. This will be a 3-video series focusing on the 9 elements I think are the most important to getting better within the game. And to make these elements a little bit easier to remember, I even created an acronym specifically for this video series. And the acronym is CAPCHAMPS, which stands for Consistency, Awareness, Practice, Class Setup, Head Glitching, Aiming, Movement, Patience, and Shooting First. The first 3 I'll be talking about are consistency, awareness, and practice. Consistency breaks down to a few elements for me. What's your confidence like when you play the game? Do you think you're going to lose every gunfight? Because then you probably will. Discipline. Are you consistently doing the things that I'm going to talk about in this video? Do you consistently do them on a regular basis? It's really hard to stay consistent. The key is discipline. So are you never doing certain things? Are you rarely? Is it 50-50? Is it almost always, or is it actually always? The more consistent and more disciplined you get within the different elements of the game I'm going to focus on, you'll continue to see your improvements over time. So you should make that your goal as you play to take these different elements into account and try and get everything into this green section, which is always. The more discipline you can get at getting all these things to always, the better your performance just will be over time. It has to be a conscious effort. You can't just go into the game, mindlessly play year after year without trying to improve and say, oh, I'm not getting better. You have to consciously make an effort in all of these areas. And if you do, I can guarantee you will get better at the game. The next thing you want to look at is your composure. Do you keep it or do you flip out? There's a lot of connectivity issues right now, so those will pass hopefully in time. That as long as you can maintain your composure, you'll continue to do well. Most people, when they lose their composure, start to rage, your performance suffers significantly. And if you ever watch anyone live stream this game, the moment they start getting pissed off, their performance suffers significantly. So I recommend doing your best to keep that from happening. Consistency is down. Next up is awareness. But before we get into that, just a quick reminder, remember to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Awareness is going to break down to a few elements. You have your visual components as well as your sound. When it comes to visual, it's just about a matter of being able to spot targets, which in some cases can be pretty difficult. That's why you got to kind of predict where they're going to be in some cases. The best tool we have is our mini-map because it can allow us to predict where the enemy's spawns are going to be. I did a complete video about the spawns, which you can check out. I do recommend checking it out. I'm going to show you kind of one of the little things from that. So you can kind of predict the spawns. These red areas are the only place you're going to spawn on Flag Tower in Team Deathmatch. So if you're in one of these areas and you haven't seen a teammate spawn in one of these areas, the spawns haven't flipped. So you got to use your awareness to wait and be patient. Let's go to one of the tips later on, but you got to wait and watch and see if one of your teammates spawns. If your teammate hasn't spawned in one of these areas, the spawns haven't flipped. So you just got to wait and see. As soon as you get that awareness, you're going to be able to make a move and make some adjustments. One of the last visual components that you're going to have is death skulls. Death skulls tell you a lot about where enemies are. So if you're looking around and you see a death skull pop up on your screen, you kind of got a good idea that there's enemies over there. Otherwise, how did your teammate die, right? So you got to know that and factor that into your awareness of where your enemies are. Now to the audio component. So what I recommend for the audio component is to have at least earbuds in. If you're just listening to your TV speakers or monitor speakers, that's probably not good enough. You're not going to be able to hear directionally where people are. But even if you can't afford the high-end headphones, you can use some basic earbuds, headphones that you get with your phone or whatever the case is, and those will help you out significantly. When you have the right audio cues, it's a lot easier to pinpoint where your enemies are. You can tell if they're on the other side of a wall, you can hear gunfire, where it's coming from. So there's a lot of different elements that's going to give you clues on where your opponents are, so you don't get snuck up on and you're able to predict more of their movement. So 2 down, 1 to go. Next up is going to be practice. I'm going to link a great video in the description as well as it's on the page right here. TheXclusiveAce came out with a great video on how to practice your aim or warm up. So I'd really recommend checking out that video. But one add I want to add to that is to actually go in and play war mode. War mode doesn't affect your KD, so you can actually go in war mode, test different weapons out, and test them out with real people. The bots can be a little bit rigid. They're kind of play like they don't know what the hell they're doing, which isn't always the best case to practice. But if you weren't looking to warm up, that's a good way to go. So I definitely recommend checking out that video. The other part of practicing is actually consciously working on some of the things I talked about in this video, as well as I'm going to be talking about in the next 2 videos around this topic. If you're still watching the video, I'd like to know your thoughts down in the comments section. Feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.